Hoo, hoo. Meow. Nay. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Diggy-diggy-doo. What's that bird? Diggy-doo. Diggy-doo. How's it going, everybody, today on YouTube? Today I more or less want to get back into Dylan and maybe discuss some of the things that we've done for Dylan on some search events and stuff like that. So I'm going to start it off with ever since we started searching for Dylan, me and the team and any volunteers that's willing to spare some time. So we go on searches, and every now and again we come across an item we find on the shore or wherever we're searching. Sometimes we find interesting things. And some of the things that I've brought home to Dylan and I have a little collection of things that I put with his stuff. And so one of the things we've come across, or I've come across, is really old bottles. The odd time you come across, so I collect these for him, give them to him. A very similar bottle, another little blue, really old bottle or jar. This little truck was found on the search. I do believe Dennis found this on one of our searches, a little truck along the shore. So we give it to Dylan. We put it in a special place for him, and which is something we like to do. Other things, rocks. Dylan liked rocks, so I grabbed the. Every now and again, I see really neat rocks, so I'll grab them and put them in that same spot. It means a lot to me. So a few other things that we found along the shores for Dylan. Found this little, I think it's Pokemon. We thought he'd like it. This was over by I do believe it was in the Salmon River, along the Salmon River. More little rocks. Rocks that I think he would have liked. Some really shiny ones. Another car that we found along the shore, I thought he would like. I think one of the searchers found it. We gave it to him. We bring him a lot of different things. And every search we go on, if we find an eagle feather, they say it gives good luck and stuff like that. So every search I go on, I see an eagle feather, I bring it home for Dylan for good luck. And these are one of the beautiful feathers I found. This would be the biggest feather I've ever found in my life. It's quite massive. This was found on the search for Dylan. It was back last year when the Colchester Search and Rescue did a search in the spring, just after May 6th, after the boat launch. And this was found on our search the same day they were searching. We were on the opposite side of the bay searching, and I actually had forgotten my pole, my walking pole for hiking, and so I had to go back by the water to retrieve it, and I couldn't find it, and I came across this giant feather. stories behind every feather, basically. For an example, I'm not going to go into every story, but there's a story in every one of these feathers on our searches for Dylan, and we really hope it brings luck in finding him. So that's something else we do. Any eagle feather we'll give to Dylan. Something else about Dylan. This was his favorite dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Dylan would carry it around everywhere. He'd eat his food with him and everything. He really liked that. Anyone with questions of Dylan's boot, this is one of his boots that were found that day. They're size 12. They were size too big for him, so he'd grow into them. Can't imagine he would run too fast in them that day, but I don't know. So I'm going to jump back into Dylan's investigation. So when me and Ashley realized that something wasn't 100% right in Dylan's investigation, we got in contact with Please Bring Me Home, and they gave us an RCMP officer, a retired RCMP officer. He's 31 years or more and does cold cases and worked under them. And so he was really the first professional we ever really got involved in Dylan's case. And so we did a little canvass of the area, and I'm not going to say his name because the cyberbullying and everything. Just people don't need this in their life for those that are cyberbullying. But he canvassed the area, looked around, looked down the brook. One of his first thoughts, and I remember it clearly, is where I showed him where the first boot was found, which would be Dylan's boot. It was submerged underwater. I think some of the shopping cart was sticking out of the water, but it was in a hole, something like that. And I don't know if it was the guy with the dog or search and rescue or the fire department or who found the boot, because we've been told a few different organizations that found the boot, or services or professionals. But the retired officer's first thought was, if the boot was in the shopping cart, my first thought is, why isn't Dylan? So with that said, we really never got any further with that. But he went upstairs and questioned Dorothy, and I think Norman Brown was there with him. And now, when my concerns and anger really started to pick up with everything, was Dorothy's first story. The grandmother's story, it was... So Jeff left for work, and I'm not going to put in times because they're just not important at this time, but apparently Jeff Parsons went to work after lunch off his break. Dorothy Parsons got Dylan ready, got the dog ready. Dorothy had the leash and the dog in one hand, Dylan in the other hand, holding his hand with his bag. They walked down to the bottom of the stairs of their apartment or home. As soon as they got to the bottom of the stairs, Dorothy let go of Dylan's hand. She walked towards the area where tying the dog. She bent over, tied the dog, looked back, and Dylan was gone. That was story number one. This is what was said. Very similar to it. And then we discussed other avenues and stuff like that. It really never amounted to much without the Truro police helping or being interested. But anyway, he moved on and went into the background. Amazing retired RCMP officer from Please Bring Me Home. And I just want to add that if anyone has a missing loved one, that Please Bring Me Home organization is a great organization. Same with Wings of Mercy. So the second professional we had look into Dylan's case, it would have been Dave Worrell. And the story was given to him was slightly different. But what really caught my attention was W5 News with Avery Haynes. Avery Haynes is an amazing investigation journalist. I enjoyed her company a lot. She was very nice. But what they discovered is the story that Dorothy gave W5 News is, I don't know, just apparently Dylan was a foot to 2 feet behind her. Dorothy looked back. Dylan was smiling, looked back to tie the dog, and Dylan was gone. It's pretty far off of the original story. See, I know my son better than anybody, me and Ashley. So if you were to walk down to the bottom of the stairs, you're outside now. You're in Dylan's domain. Dylan loves the outside. He loves it. And if you let go of his hand, he's booking it. He's either walking fast or he's going to run out and find something to do. Just for even Dylan to be standing there and smiling at her, and she turns around and ties the dog, why wasn't the dog alerted by Dylan running away? You know, they were the dog and Dylan. So the dog was a puppy. The puppy was just brought into the home not too long ago before Dylan's disappearance. And they were two peas in a pod. That puppy and Dylan, that's all they do. Run around the house. Dylan would come back with scratches and everything else. It happens with puppies, I guess. But why didn't the dog alert Dorothy? Why didn't the dog run towards Dylan as he was running away or walking away? There should have been some sort of sign that the dog was giving. It should have pulled the direction Dylan was trying to go. The dog would have got excited. If Dylan ran off in 18 seconds, that means he was running, and to tell me that puppy wasn't alerted in any way. That's just things that I think about all the time. You know, it's just things that I can't understand. You know, so that's a little bit about the different stories I've heard. Just there's so many different stories on what happened to Dylan through the grandmother. And me and Ashley will both testify that, you know, there's been significant changes in the story. Big time. But I'm going to get back to my story. So all the chaos was happening. We talked about, I think we talked about Truro Police, canine dog, and how he come out of the woods and said that this dog's not meant for looking for little kids, especially this much time going by. I'm going to just jump right into when we started to make a reward. So making a reward for a missing child, we went into it thinking, okay, the Truro police are going to help us with this. They know what to do. So Norman Brown, I think, took that over, and he called the Truro police office and talked to Corporal Emery. And Norm was like, just wondering how I go about making a reward for Dylan, a missing poster with a reward. You bring him back and you get this much money. And Corporal Emery, Truro police officer, with no advice, stated, you'll just have to Google it. You'll have to go online and Google it. So we started doing that. It was a struggle trying to figure out the right wording and everything. But we managed to get everything figured out with some other organizations that were happy to help. And so we got all that together, and I think it was at $10,000 at that time, and every cent came from the GoFundMe when Dylan went missing. It was supposed to go to us while looking for Dylan, but we didn't want the money, so we put it into his reward after we realized things weren't right. And so we made the reward, and it started circulating around the internet. Actually, I'm going to jump back to when the cyberbullying started, and then I'll get to the reward. So the cyberbullying started a few days after Dylan's disappearance, and we got a phone call right away saying, delete your TikTok account, do not go on Facebook. And me and Ashley, being me and Ashley, we had to look, and I want to tell you that I've never seen so many people tear apart one person in all my life. Was Ashley Brown, an innocent person, a victim, and the whole town turned against her. I'm talking thousands and thousands and thousands of disgusting messages, Messenger, Facebook, you name it, it was coming in from somewhere. I just wanted to really make that clear that it was horrific, it was disgusting, it was overwhelming. So we jumped off that pretty quick, and it hasn't stopped for, we're almost coming to 2 years, and it just keeps coming. That's a little bit about the cyberbullying. But we made the poster with the reward. And unfortunately, when that started circulating, I started getting ransoms. I started getting ransoms from different people. Very disgusting ransoms. I have your son. I want $10,000. Or I'm going to kill your son. Or I want 3 Bitcoin, and sends me up a beat up picture of Dylan photoshopped. Or sends me a picture of this shot up girl realistically and says, we just killed this woman and your son's next and we want $5,000. I've had ones where they would just make you cringe and break down and just it changes the way you were as a person and all this. Since everything has happened in Dylan's investigation and case, we haven't had one charge laid. We haven't had any justice for any of the wrongdoing, that if it was the community or if it was, there's been no, I had an RCMP officer tell me that we're the victims and will continue on being the victims because the justice system's not built for us.